Welcome to the Good Divorce Show, where we can help you learn how to navigate the journey of divorce with less conflict, less debt, and equip you not to just get divorced, but also learn how to be divorced. Your host, certified divorce coach Karen McNenny, shares her wealth of knowledge, gets advice from other relationship experts, and interviews couples who learn how to have a good divorce, so you can too. Now here's your host, Karen.
Hello, listeners. Thanks for joining me today here on the Good Divorce Show. I am Karen McNenny, your good divorce coach. Because guess what? That's actually one of the options, having a good divorce. And today I am delighted to have a guest who's going to talk about her own, not only a good divorce experience, but really the positive impact of becoming a blended family. We're chatting today with Celia Kibler. She's an award-winning, best-selling author of Raising Happy Toddlers. She has been awarded the Mom's Choice and International Impact Book Awards. And she really specializes in how to build great parenting skills, how to stop yelling at your kids. She's an international speaker, a family empowerment coach, and the founder of the International Day of Calm, which is held every year on April 5th. News to me, but I think we could use a few more international days of calm, quite honestly. Her program, Pumped Up Parenting and Fun Fit Family Fitness, are two programs that she has founded. And she also has the companion podcast, Pumped Up Parenting, which I encourage you to listen to for even more tools. She is the mom of 5 kids. 2 of those she gave birth to, and 3 of them were bonus kids through her second marriage. She is also a grandma of 9, which I hear is the best part of all. She has been a real life parent for over 41 years and has successfully parented a blended family for over 29. I can't wait to dive into that. Celia is on a mission to stop 10 million parents from yelling at their kids. You better start with me. Welcome to the show, Celia.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, and we're having a little girl crush in the podcast world, getting to be guest on each other's shows.
Yes.
And finding someone who's really philosophically aligned, but also has had the experience of a positive divorce outcome. And to be clear to all of you listening, that does not make us pro-divorce and anti-family. We are pro-family.
Right.
We are pro-keeping kids at the center of the family structure and helping them to be successful. But what we know is divorce does happen. And then as a society, we need to stop denying that fact. Divorce families are terribly neglected. I will go so far as to say, and under-supported. And we seem to see one pathway, which is to a dismal, desperate, difficult divorce. But we have both found you actually have a different choice.
Exactly.
Celia, I would like you to just take us back in time to the early stages of your own divorce journey. And did you even know then what you were striving for, or did you happen upon a good experience over time quite by accident?
Well, I knew. So my first husband and I were married 15 years, and he is the father of my children. And we got married right out of college. And basically, like we were talking about before, you either grow together or you grow apart. And I really felt like we were growing apart. What I wanted was not necessarily what he wanted. And there was, although we always got along, there was no violence, there was nothing like that. But it wasn't working. And there was alcohol involved on, his side, and I didn't drink. So it was like a whole nother, part of my relationship, which I learned later on through therapy that, that alcohol is like a third person you're married to. And so I knew it just wasn't working. It was hard to decide what to do. I'm going to throw this out to you guys because I tell this to a lot of my clients. I went to this wonderful therapist and I said, but if we get divorced, I went through the whole list. My kids aren't going to be with their father anymore. My parents aren't going to have their son-in-law. I even named my niece and nephew aren't going to have their uncle. Like, I went through everybody. Everybody.
Just loss. Everything
Yep, just
was a
like
loss. Net
like
zero.
50 people wiped out from this relationship. And my therapist looked at me, and I want all of you listeners to remember this. My therapist looked at me and she said, "What are you, the sacrificial lamb?" And I have never forgotten that. Even like times when we all go through times when we're pulled in a million directions and we don't want to say no, just let that little line run in your head. Are you the sacrificial lamb? And when she said that, I was like, well, no. She goes, well, you matter too. And if this is not working, how will you have a fulfilled life if this is not working?
Yeah.
You could live your whole life for him. Or you could decide there's more that you want for life. And so
I think sometimes we get on our high horse and think, oh, their life isn't going to get any better either. But the reality is their life might get way better once they get unmarried from us.
Right.
We
Exactly.
all have the possibility of growth and expansion.
Because if one half of your relationship is not working, chances are it's not quite working for the other half either.
Yep.
Maybe it's not working in the same way, but it's probably not working it's probably not what that person envisioned to be this lifelong relationship.
Yeah.
So in talking about this, then we decided that we would go to marriage counseling.
As one often does. We're struggling. Let's go try to save the marriage.
Right. And so we did that. He wasn't willing to really take responsibility or change.
Mm-hmm.
And in his defense, like I brought up one thing in marriage counseling that had happened 15 years ago. In his defense, what was he going to do about something that happened 15 years ago? So those things you don't talk about, talk about them. Because they're going to stay in your soul and they're going to grow into a giant monster and they're never going to leave until you resolve it. Here I was 15 years worried about something like almost right out of college that happened. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
What was he supposed? He's not okay. Let's go back to back to the past and see if we can resolve that. Had nothing to do with anything except it built up my resentment. And so we went to marriage. It clearly wasn't going to work. And there was a moment where we had taken a company trip together. And I knew during that trip, I knew the moment it happened, I was like, this marriage is over.
And there usually is one person sitting out there who comes to that truth first and then has to take the courageous move to say it out loud. So let's fast forward a little bit. You've decided to get divorced. You begin proceedings. You've got to tell kids. As you said, you're in multiple states. Things really changed for your husband after this decision. Take us down the path of negotiating and navigating the actual divorce.
Well, so like you said, there were multiple states. I'm from Maryland. He's from Maryland. We're both from Baltimore. But we were living in Missouri. So in order for the separation to happen, I did not decide I was going to separate and stay in Missouri. I was going to separate and go back to Maryland, where my family was, which was one of the issues.
Yep.
So our conversation had to happen at that time. Me and the two kids were going to drive back to Maryland without Dad. Yeah. So we sat down, the four of us, and we talked about this separation that was going to happen. We were going to live in Maryland. Dad was going to live here. We did not approach it at that time. We approached it as a separation, not as this is long lasting, because at that point, I don't think either of us really knew if it was permanent. But it was definitely a fixed separation.
You get kind of a cascade effect. It's sort of an entry point. And if you're not totally clear, I think bringing the kids on board in that context is appropriate.
Yeah. And so we talked about it, and we talked about why, we just weren't getting along, and, we didn't feel like, things were working out for me here and things were working out for him in Missouri. And he wanted to stay in Missouri and I wanted to go back to Maryland, and there were different paths we wanted to take. And I will never forget getting in that car, in that garage, seeing him crying at the doorway, me crying, the kids crying, we're all crying. And after that conversation, I got in that car and we drove away. And to this day, I will tell you, when I reflect on it, I don't know how I had the strength to drive out that garage. I don't know. I don't know what other power took me over and drove me out of that garage, because when I think back, I don't know how I did it. Like, with all of us crying, I don't know how I didn't turn off the engine, just go, okay, never mind, just kidding. Let's get back in the house, but I did. So there was a drive deep enough in me, call it God, call it whoever, that got me out of that house and hitting the road to Maryland.
So then your kids began a life across not only 2 homes, but across 2 states.
Yes.
I think it would be really interesting and educational to hear a little bit about how you negotiated that, how those decisions were made, how the kids navigated it. Did it change at any point as they aged, of what, once they had more of a voice?
There were things that went on. So now he was in Missouri and I was in Maryland. And in order for him to see them, either he would have to fly into Maryland. And like I said, he was from Maryland. So his mom was there and his sister was there. But when the kids went to see him many times during the year, except for one time during the year when he came home for the holidays, they had to get on a plane, 5 and 11, get on that plane by themselves and fly halfway across the country, which for me was very hard. There's a lot of praying going on, a lot of circling the plane in white light and, and making sure that when they went to be with him, they also were empowered to safety. So understand, for a long time, because I didn't drink, I always felt like for a long time I was put on this earth to be the designated driver. I used to drive all my friends that drank around. Everybody, we'd go out and party. We have so much in common. And that was my job in life. Well, now I'm sending them off where I'm not there. Yeah. And I can't be responsible for what's going on all day and night and driving and anything like that. So I had to empower them to know their safety limits. And if they felt unsafe, they were to speak up. Okay. And that was a difficult part. But even with my son at 5 years old, it was something that had to be taught. And I got help to teach them that. I didn't do that on my own. I got help with counselors to help teach them that, because they needed to know when they felt unsafe. Yeah. That was something no one could tell them. So part of that was also, I took responsibility for keeping their connection alive with their grandma, their other grandma, not my mom, his mom. Right. Because I now lived in the Baltimore area and she lived in the Baltimore area, and I wanted them to have a strong connection with their grandmother.
Which is basically what I call the outlaws. So the woman who was once your mother-in-law now is, but still grandma, right?
Yeah, family, still grandma. And
sends the legal document that's called divorce. Family's family, family.
Right. And still, in my eyes, important that they have that relationship, not just once a year, multiple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
She enjoyed seeing them. They enjoyed seeing her. I wasn't going to end that relationship. One time, though, she did start bad-mouthing me. And I heard from my son that, oh, well, you know what grandma said. She said all these things, that all this is my fault, and that, and, you know, 5-year-old, 6-year-old will tell you anything. Bless their little hearts.
Oh.
And I responded by calling my ex-husband right away. And I was like, look, we do not badmouth each other. We do not speak bad to our children. I certainly do not expect anyone else to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to bring them to your mom. I'm happy to keep that relationship, but I will not keep the relationship if she continues to harm my children. And even though nothing was going on bad, that to me was mental abuse.
And how did he respond to that phone call?
He called her and told her. He actually said, you're right. He called her up and said, she's not going to bring her if you don't stop.
Yeah. I refer to these as the shadow figures in the divorce. And sometimes it's the friend or the in-laws or the relatives, people who think they need to stand up and protect and take sides at the expense of others. And I always say, well, I do want my family on my side, and I want you to love me, and I want you to support me. But you don't have to do it at his expense, right? It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. And so really managing that shadow figure in grandma and right away getting on top of it so it did not perpetuate and continue. And thank goodness you had a father on the other end of the phone who took that call, took it to heart, and then called his own mother.
Yeah.
What was the secret sauce between you and the father of your children that you could have those conversations, that you both were on the team of the kids?
I think ultimately, now it wasn't always like that, because that was definitely different if we talked about money. I always knew we talked about money, that was not going to be a pleasant conversation. But I think we've always had respect for each other, and we've always liked and cared about each other. You know, I don't say this to brag, but I've been married now a total of many years.
Add them up.
45 years, because we've been married almost 30, and I was married to my first husband 15 years. I'm pointing like as if you can see him. You can't see him. Him in the other room. And I will tell you, we have always, my first marriage, my second marriage, have had a respectful relationship. We did not cuss and scream at each other. We did not call names. It just didn't happen. It's not how I am. It's not how the men I married are. So there was a constant and still a respect we have for each other and a caring for each other. I mean, this man, I was in love with this man, and he made me two of the most incredible humans to hit this planet. You know, I'm going to hate this guy? No, because they're half him.
That's right.
And our biggest accomplishment is them.
The spirit of, there was a love story there. There is a love story.
Right.
Just because the marriage ended doesn't mean everything that came before it is wiped away, eclipsed, negated. There is a preciousness in what brought you together as young adults in your 20s, that these two beautiful children that were made from love and that will continue in this world, hopefully, with the love of both of their parents plus bonus parents. Now, this is an interesting part of your story. As you just said, your current marriage, 30 years. So I want a little bit of data. How long were you single post-divorce before you started dating? When did you introduce to the kids? Is there anything you would have done differently? So unpack it, Celia. Tell us about the second great love story of your life.
So we ironically, there was a difficult time after our divorce. So we were separated for a year. And then we got divorced. And remember I told you that there was alcohol involved, not hard alcohol, beer for the most part, and lots of beer. And unfortunately, my ex-husband, a month after our divorce, dove off of the second railing of a house into a swimming pool and broke his neck. So,
Oh my heavens.
he's still a
my goodness.
quadriplegic. And so my kids were not just dealing with a divorce, they were dealing with their father now being a quadriplegic.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so there was a lot of feelings that went through me, a lot of, anger. Here, your son is 5 years old. You can't play catch with him again. There was a lot of, me recognizing our history and how I felt like this could have happened at any time. And so there was a lot of, there's a lot of emotion for not just me, but for our children.
Yeah. Big significant changes. Wow.
Huge. And he had a girlfriend at the time, and they were not married. They've been married as long as my husband and I have been married.
Oh, wow.
They got married just after we got married. We got married after that happened, about 6 months after that happened, and they got married about 7 months after that happened.
Wow. So all of these kids have new parents coming in the scene in really less than a year from the divorce. Big changes. They're all maybe under the age of 10. All 5 of them.
Lauren was the oldest. So she was 12 by then. So she was the oldest. And so everybody down to 5 years old.
School aged. Yeah. Okay. So pick up the story.
My 5 children are like incrementally like a year and a half from each other. I could have given birth to all 5 of them. So basically, it was a rough school year. There was a lot going on.
Yeah. We
decided after all that we were going, me and the kids flew out to Missouri right away. So they could see their dad. And it wound up being a really nice time for my ex and I because we found closure. I feel like there wasn't really closure until that point. So it actually turned out...
A little parentheses, because I'm dipping in and out of your expertise also as a parent coach and a guide and an author, that the importance of ritual, of symbolism. And we think about marriages, they are full of so much tradition and ritual and rings and vows and crushing of the glass. If Jewish tradition,
That's what we do.
Yep. And then there's the divorce, and it's like this cliff. I really like to take my clients. I'm like, what sort of ritual of closure do you need, together or separate? When will you take your rings off? What does that symbolize in that day? What letter would you write to the marriage you had? Like somehow marking it, because otherwise it's like this open wound that just takes longer to heal. So I'm so glad you're mentioning this as really a hallmark of something for all of you listeners to think about if you are navigating the journey of divorce, that walking out of the courthouse is not the ritual we're talking about.
Right. Exactly. And if you can find that closure, if you can make time for it, you can move on in a more peaceful way, in a calmer way.
Yeah.
And so fast forward from that into our significant others. For my husband and I, my current husband and I, my only husband, he's, my second one, that there's not going to be one after him. And
your final husband.
the final frontier, the final husband. We had 5 kids to unite that had never met each other. We had been dating, but they never met him. And that's not true. Mm-hmm. I think they met him a couple times. Did not meet his children. So we decided that we were going to get these 5 kids together. And we debated on the best way to do it. We weren't even sure if there was a best way, other than just throwing them together and let them meet each other. Talk to my kids. This is who you're going to meet. This is what they are. They had already met him. We're thinking of, getting our kids together for you guys to get to know each other and make friends and stuff like that. And so they were all ready. We decided to go to the beach and do this.
So it was a beach family day.
It was a beach day, and it was fun, and they met each other. And by the grace of God, they adored each other, and they loved each other from that moment on. There are a lot of boys. So my daughter is the queen bee of 4 boys. Okay. She is the oldest, and then there are boys. Luckily, she's not like prim and proper, although she's stunning, but
you can handle it.
She can hang with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very fun time we had. We did a lot of fun things. So it wasn't like we're all just going to sit there and look at each other. We did stuff. We decided to do it so that there was activity, kind of interrupting the awkward times.
That's right. And again, facilitating this connection for those of you who are bringing new partners, potentially new siblings. Like, don't just leave it to the winds. Be thoughtful, be intentional. What is going to help those kids actually connect and not just sit around awkwardly.
Right. If you're just sitting in the living room, everyone's going to feel awkward. No one's going to want to talk to each other, nothing. But our thought was, if we go do something fun and there's laughter, and you know me, I'm all about laughter is the best medicine. If there's laughter and there's good times, that's going to facilitate their connection.
Absolutely.
There's no reason why they start out hating each other. There's no reason for the animosity. It's not like we already got married and now you're going to meet these people. This was just meeting new buddies.
New friends.
Yeah. And my daughter actually recently told me that going through what happened with leaving, Missouri, coming to Maryland, going through the separation, going through the divorce, having dad become a quadriplegic, going into 8th grade in a new school, awkward time, 8th grade, with all this baggage that she's got, she said that those kids saved her life. She recently told me this, like a month ago. She said, they saved my life.
What a gift to a divorced mama.
And that makes me cry.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you wonder what's the right thing. You wonder, which is why I encourage you, to work with Karen. Work with me. Work with someone who can help you. Mm-hmm. Karen's like the expert good divorce woman. Get advice. Know what's going on. Do your best intention to make it work for your kids.
Yeah. Can I ask logistically what was happening? Because, so you've got a 5-pack.
We do. We decided not to make it like the Brady Bunch, and we thought 5 was a good number.
It was a good number. So the 3 bonus sons, were they living across 2 homes? Were they coming and going? Did you have all 5 all the time? How did you schedule? That's one of those really practical things our listeners are like, how do we do that? And can we coordinate? And should we?
So they lived in Virginia. We lived in Maryland. We lived in the D.C. metro area. So if you're unfamiliar with that, the reason it's called the D.C. metro area is because it combines D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. And the Beltway runs around Washington, D.C., around Maryland into Virginia. So even though it's 2 states, it's not 2 states that are like hours away, but they did live, about, I guess, an hour and a half from us.
Were they?
So they would come. They lived with their mom.
Okay.
And her doesn't sound very nice, but whoever she was living with at the time.
Whatever. Yep.
And now she is in a long time marriage. And so we got the boys every other weekend. Every weekend? No, I think every other weekend. I can't remember. Sometimes every weekend, sometimes every other weekend.
But they were in residence with their mom.
Yes.
In the school district there. That's where their life was. And they would come for visitation, basically.
Correct.
To your home with your current husband. And
so
your kids.
Their father. So,
yeah.
And then my kids were mostly home because their dad lived in Missouri. So they visited him holidays, spring break, part of summer, Christmas vacation. Then he would usually come home during that time. So they mostly lived with me. And, but here's the thing, and it's an important thing for everybody listening to remember. We had expectations in our home. So even though the boys would live with their mom and their mom had a different parenting philosophy than I had, when they came into our home, they knew there were certain expectations. There were certain things, and we treated them, this was not like special treat vacation. Right. This was you're coming into your home, your family. Right. Your Beautiful. Father's home is your home. You're not visiting. You're not a guest.
You're not a guest. Your family.
Your family. Beautiful. Therefore, this home is your home. And I can't say that my children felt that way when visiting for a while. Their dad.
Yeah.
But in our house was their house. And they knew it. You know, they knew they could even opt at some point in time if they wanted to live there. They could. It's their house. So being their house, they also had responsibilities just like my kids had responsibilities. You know, just because you're not here every day doesn't mean like now we got to put our dishes in the sink and do the dishwasher, clean up your mess and, you know, do laundry if we need to do laundry. It was everybody's responsibility.
Yep.
Never make your bonus children, stepchildren, whatever you want to call them, never make them guests. They're not guests, they're family.
Yes. Oh.
And if you make them guests, then your own children will build resentment towards them. Because how come they get treated differently?
And they don't have to.
Right. No one got treated differently.
Beautiful.
And that was very important. So we would sit down and we would have like a little family discussion over what the expectations were in the house. And every Friday, you know, people always ask me this, did you have to keep reminding them? Yes. Yes. Because their mother's house was opposite our house. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of cussing. There was no cussing in my house. No yelling. We don't yell. We don't cuss, just like me now. You know, I'm obsessed with that, with helping families not yell and cuss. So when they came through that door, they knew that was not the language I wanted to hear. Here we respect each other. And did I remind them? Yes, every Friday until it became a habit. Did I get upset that I had to remind? No. It's important to remember that your kids did not ask for this. None of them asked for this to happen. You have to see it through their perspective. So they go home, they have that, then they come here and they have this. And if I have to remind them if they cuss by accident, and I have to remind them, remember, we're using our manners. We're saying please and thank you. We're not cussing. I know. I didn't get upset about it. They're having their own challenges dealing with this.
That's right. I'm curious. I'm through your parent expert lens. I want to talk about two stages of development. The adolescent, kind of the 13 to 18, but then also the young adult, 18 to 25, which we know biologically is still an extension of adolescence. That executive function, frontal cortex is not fully on board until right around 25.
25. Yep.
So with your kids, as they were moving into their teen years, and specifically even your two biological kids, because they were going away for summers, I've heard that there's a point at which kids start having an opinion. I don't want to leave all my friends. I don't want to leave my car. I don't want to leave my summer job. I don't want to do the things that the parenting plan says I'm supposed to want to do because they're becoming more autonomous. So could you speak a little bit about the importance of and the balance of how we honor that autonomy and the complexity of when you're still trying to live inside a parenting plan and a custody agreement, if you will, and honor these kids? What shifted for you and what advice do you have?
Flexibility is golden.
Amen.
And perspective is golden.
Yes.
So along the years, my ex-husband did move to Virginia. So he was much closer than Missouri, and we could get the kids to each other. I would meet him halfway.
Got it.
And we would deliver the kids either to or from.
Mm-hmm.
But there did come a time when, mainly for my son, had decided that he didn't want to go see his dad. He was upset for whatever reason, whatever. He didn't want to go see his dad. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave his friends. He just didn't want to go. And I will tell you, in my home, that wasn't an option. And the reason it wasn't an option, and I'm not going to say he went every time he didn't want to. If he really didn't want to, then we would say, okay, not this weekend, next weekend, or something like that. I did not give him a permanent out. Why? Because it's important for them to have a relationship with their parents.
Yes.
Whatever those parents are. Just like I was insistent about them having a relationship with their grandmother, I was also insistent about them having a relationship with their father.
Right. And
it's important.
There to be the intentional parent, right? This is why kids have parents, so they don't parent themselves because they can't make a lot of choices that may not be in their best interest long term, and they don't know it at the time, right? That's the hard journey of raising and that emancipation as they begin to separate. But I so honor and admire not only like your wisdom as a parenting expert to know kids need to have strong attachments, love and connection to both parents. That's best outcome. But as an ex-wife, you're like, no, I am still invested in this and I'm going to make sure it happens.
Yep.
Even in spite of whatever urge or whim at the moment. Have you and your son ever talked about that? You were talking about perspective, whether you would do it differently now, or if he looks back and appreciates that in a different way.
He looks back and appreciates because now he has a strong relationship with his father. Yeah. And it wasn't that many years. Realize that when a child becomes a teenager, their brain gives them 3 bonus features. Number 1 is risk. That's why we all do dumb stuff when we're teenagers. Number 2 is the need to belong, which is very strong and part of what contributed to my belief in this. And number 3 is the need to be with your friends. Have teenagers want to be with their friends, so don't take it personally. It's not that they don't want to be with you. It's just that they want to be with their friends more. And they are literally wired that way. They're not being mean to you. They are wired to be with their friends. So don't take it personally.
Reminder. Risk, sense of belonging, and connection to peers.
And connection to friends.
The parents start to step aside and peers start to move in as primary relationships.
Exactly. So part of the need to belong, that is, if you want to ring in on something important, that's important. Because if you don't create an environment in your home where your children feel like they belong there, they're appreciated, they're visible, they're heard, they're valued. If you don't create that, they're going to go find somewhere to belong, and I guarantee you it's not going to be good.
Oh.
So those conversations we had, the talks we talked to each other about, we'd sit down at tables, at the dinner table, and we just talking, goof around. The kids would have friends come over, and I would sit there at the table with their friends when they were teenagers, and we goof around and talk. Those are what brings families together.
Mhm.
Those are the bonds. And in this day and age, guys, I know, back when my kids were younger, they were kids, there were no cell phones. I had a cell phone. I had like the first cell phone in a big
Right.
bag. Very, very attractive. I still have that cell phone. But there was not all kids had cell phones. I had to know where they were going. I had to know who they were with. I had to have phone numbers. I had to know when they were going to be back. All of those things. And honestly, parents, you should still know that information because they can be on a cell phone 4 states away.
Yeah.
So just because cell phones exist does not mean you should rely on the cell phone forever and ever.
You're off the hook. I always think
Right.
we should have an appropriate amount of intervention and involvement with our children.
Yes.
I always tell my kids, it's in my job description. I don't want to get fired from my parent job. These are the things that I have to do. And keeping you safe and continuing to guide your decision making is part of my job.
And plus, it shows you care. It gives them security, safety, and love. If you ever talk to a child who's roaming the streets at 11 o'clock at night and you walk up to them and go, why are you out at 11 o'clock at night? And they'll look at you and they'll go, because nobody cares. And they literally mean nobody cares. Why? Because nobody does care that they're out roaming the streets at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So if you don't want them to feel like they're loved and wanted, then keep doing that. And the problem with phones is it causes a lot of division in a family. It takes away the community and creates individuals. You could all be in the same room, but you're all on your phones.
Yeah. So interesting.
So it's really important to keep that family together. However that family looks. You're not living in the same home. You're, one parent's here, one parent's there. You still build that community because that's where your kids belong.
I have a vision that you're a family that would sit together at the basketball game, sit together at the choir, like the
Always
whole
do.
row, the parents,
It's us.
the blended, bring the whole Walton family, right? Yep.
Exactly.
And
well, it's like I had told you, and when we did my podcast together, we just had my grandson just had his baseball game, and it wound up being like grandparent reunion because my ex and his wife came, and my son-in-law's parents came, and I was there, and and we're all like welcoming. I give my ex a hug and a kiss, his wife a hug and a kiss. My other grandparents, it's like, we're all happy to be there. We're all sitting there. We're all cheering on that grandson of ours.
Beautiful.
All together, rooting for the kid. And
Unifying.
He's really good at baseball.
Right. And you don't have to leave the baseball diamond and all have dinner together and be best friends. I mean, some people.
Although sometimes we do. We actually didn't. We normally would have, probably.
Yeah.
We didn't because we had things to do and they were up visiting my daughter, and I had a conference I had to go to.
But
oftentimes we do.
I want to continue down this before we wrap up today to talk about this next stage of development, the 18 to 25. Our kids have graduated from high school. The legal jurisdiction of parenting plan and custody sort of evaporates. Some parents wait to get divorced until the kids graduate. And then there's a different kind of cliff because we don't have any guardrails, understandings, or systems of how we do family across 2 homes, right? All sorts of concerns. So I think 18 to 25, again, if you wouldn't mind kind of unpacking the big important things that are happening during that time of life. And as divorce families, how do we continue to support our kids as they launch? I think we really underestimate this stage.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the important thing to remember. Although, as we said, the human brain does not finalize its development till you're about 25 years old. But when you have an 18-year-old, I could tell you a funny story, but I'll tell you that in a minute. after I finish my thought. When you have an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, they feel like adults. In fact, by law, they are adults.
I guess.
So, and I'll tell you this funny story real quick. So my daughter was 16. She wanted to get her belly button pierced. And I was like, no, you can't get belly button pierced at 16. We can wait till you're 18. And then she's like, okay. And I never thought of it again. She turns 18. The morning she turns 18, she walks into my bedroom and goes, Mom, we're going to go get my belly button pierced. I'm like, what? She goes, come on. You said I could do when I'm 18. I'm like, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And her father was not happy. But I had told her, and the truth be told, she was 18. She could walk into that tattoo parlor and get her belly button pierced.
Their body,
18 was a hard year. Right.
Yeah.
That was probably my hardest year. And I think it was because medically they had say over themselves. Like I would have thought 21 was a difficult year. No, it was 18 for me. That was when she turned 18. That was
like
hard.
A second birth.
It is.
And laboring and them just trying to get out and into their autonomy and their independence. But they're not actually fully autonomous.
Right. Exactly. And oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to finish the sentence? I cut you off.
Well, I was just going to continue to say, it's that rubber band. I don't need you. I've got everything figured out. Leave me alone. Stop micromanaging. Stop hovering. Oh, wait, can I have keys to the car and $20? And we have to do my FAFSA and I don't know where I'm going to go to college. And please help me move my stuff again.
Right.
Right. In and out, in and out.
Right. I can take care of myself, but I can't.
Exactly.
So, and what's important to remember in all the years that you're a parent, many parents think 18 and gone. No, 18 and just starting that phase of life.
Right. It's
my kids are in their 30s and 40s. They still need me. But the most important thing is they know I'm always there for them.
Yeah.
Any of them. And 3 of them live in Virginia and 2 of them live here in Maryland, know that they could call me at 3 a.m. and I would get in that car and I would go to them if they needed help. They always know I'm there for them.
How would you describe the co-parenting relationship that your husband and his former wife have, that you and your former spouse have, in terms of as your kids went through the young adult, the college, like, were you still connecting on holidays and connecting on college and insurance and cars? And was there still an active co-parenting relationship that was taking place?
There was more an understanding in our home. I often tell parents that as much as you would like the 2 co-parents to go smoothly, it doesn't always happen.
Right. And
what you have to focus on is what your beliefs are, what your values are, what your goals are in your home. Remember I told you those kids came in and they knew what the expectations were. They knew, no surprises. This is what happens in this house. Mm-hmm. And when you nurture your children and you give them those seeds and you give them those beliefs and your values and your goals, and it's a family decision. These are our goals as a family. This is our vision for our family. Mm-hmm. When that all is a reality, then your kids do much better in an environment that doesn't meet those qualifications because they're able to choose. They're able to be in control of themselves. So if they're in a situation that makes them uncomfortable, they're more prepared to deal with it wherever it is. Could be the other home, could be college, could be a new job. Mm-hmm. They're more prepared. And you hope that they will make the right choice. Do they always? Of course not. Have we always? Of course not. Are we human? Yes. Do we make mistakes? Yes. Do we fail? Yes. It is important to know, though, that failure is not the opposite of success, nor is a mistake. It is on the road to success. We learn from our failures. We learn from our mistakes. So celebrate them. Don't Don't get on your kids because they made a poor choice. Help them learn to live with that choice if they have to live with it for a while, or plan how they can make a better choice to get a better outcome. So driving, all of those things, my kids in our house were under contracts when they got a car. They got a car, it was $1,000. Each child got, then you could buy a car for $1,000.
Right.
Each child got $1,000 car. And they were obligated to pay for all the gas except for one tank to go to school. And they were obligated to pay for the $100 of their insurance. And if they did not, they had a 3-month pass. And in 3 months, they better get a job. Get a job that maybe made them $500 a month to cover all that and have some spending money. If they didn't, they lost a job. They had 3 months to get a new job, get back on track. And we didn't back charge them, but you had to get back on track. And one of our kids didn't. And tow truck came and towed his car away after 3 months. And he's like, where's my car going? It's like, gone. There's your bicycle. And that's where you are. They all signed the contract. He knew exactly. I gave him heads up. Part of the thing is you have to be in integrity with what you say. What you say is what you do. If you say it, do it. If you have no intention of doing it, don't say it.
Oh, Celia.
But
so
it's hard.
Wisdom.
Thank you.
It's very hard, that age group.
It's hard. And it's hard. And when they become 18, they may not want to go see dad. They may not want to go see mom. They may not want to do something with the family. You have to give them wings.
Yeah.
They have to. They are old enough to make decisions on their own, to make choices, to understand their responsibility in making a choice. If we all go do something they decide not to, and they come back and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know you were going to do that. You made a choice. You decided not to hang with the family. We did whatever we did, and those times will come. And they could throw a tantrum, or they could realize their responsibility that they decided not to hang with the family. So we'll do that on another day. No big deal. You're back now. Let's eat dinner, whatever. But you do have to give them wings. You do have to give them the opportunity to experience. What makes the saying, with age comes wisdom? Why? Because I'm 66, why am I wise? Wisdom is experience. That's all it is.
Yep.
And if you are constantly trying to protect them or trying to hover over them, they're not going to gain that wisdom. And they'll be on your couch for the rest of their life.
We certainly don't want that.
We don't want that. Well, we mainly don't want that because we don't want that for them.
That's right. Our job is to launch them.
Right.
Well, listeners, we have been sitting with certainly a wise woman today, Celia Kibler. She is an award-winning best-selling author of Raising Happy Toddlers. She has been so involved in building great parenting skills, how to stop yelling at your kids. She's an international speaker. And I know that people are going to want to hear more from you, Celia. I hope to bring you back. It was wonderful for you to indulge today some of your story and really create an illustration for other people to hear how it can be done well. It's one of the choices. But if they're looking for a few more hard-hitting, skill building, we've got a taste of it today. Where can they find you? Where are the resources?
Well, you can find me all over the place. So you can find me at pumpedupparenting.com. If you are on board with making this world a calmer place and really working to end the violence and anger that is affecting our kids and future generations, because it's an epidemic of anger and rage.
Yeah.
And it starts with parents. Go to dayofcalm.org. It starts with you. It starts with you and how you raise your kids, because if you choose to raise your child in an aggressive manner, you are only raising another generation of angry and raging adults. We are raising adults, not children. They're already children.
Yes.
It is our job to raise a confident, happy, loving, self-reliant grown-up. That's our job.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to talk to me, you can go to talkwithcelia.com, set up a time, pick a time, and we'll have a conversation about what's going on with you. And if you need my help, we'll talk about how I can help. I'm always here to help you guys, and on all social sites, and find my book at celiasbooks.com.
Yeah. And Pumped Up Parenting is the website and the podcast.
Yes. Both with the same name.
Yep. That's great. Oh, Celia, thank you so much for sharing your story and that well-earned 66 years of wisdom.
Yes.
It's serving the rest of us well.
Thank you, Karen, for having me. It has been a joy.
And listeners, as always, thank you for taking time to be part of the movement, the good divorce movement, so that across this country, we can do better for our kids and better for ourselves. And remember, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it is not the end.
Thanks for listening. Do you have questions or thoughts about this week's episode? Let us know by following the Good Divorce Coach on Facebook and Instagram at Good Divorce Coach, and leave a comment. And be sure to tune in every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, or listen anytime wherever you get your podcasts.